Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jennifer Vaden Barth, and I'm the outreach program lead for computer science education events at Google. And I'm the partner manager for COA. And I have with me today my colleague, Ricki Meyer, who's joining us from New York City. I'm based in LA, if I didn't say that already. As we're having you all join, we want to ask that you please share where you're from. If you want to tell us, not only where you're joining from geographically, but also your organization or anything like that, we'd love to hear from you in the chat. And we'll get started in about 30 seconds to 1 minute, but we'll give folks a few minutes to get over here. Dearborn, wow, South Carolina, Arizona, Kansas, amazing. Fantastic. Awesome. Okay, great. Ricki, we have folks here. South Dakota, yes. All right. From all over. This is terrific. Well, we are so happy to have you all here joining us. We're going to jump right in and share a little bit as we talk about the things that Google is doing to meet workforce demands for career readiness. And then we're going to feature a specific program today. Without further ado, let me step back. There we go. So as I mentioned earlier, my name is Jennifer Vaden Barth, and I have been with Google about 13 years. My first career actually was in music. My 2 degrees were there, and I worked for quite some time in that space, but I always loved math and was looking for a change in a way to help the world around me. And long story short, I applied online in 2008 and got an executive assistant job at Google in New York City. And when I walked in my first day of work and I saw integrals and derivatives on a whiteboard, I realized, wow, I wish I had been inspired maybe in that way when I was exploring math as a high school student, because I would have loved to have had the opportunity to consider engineering as a career path. And so it's really made me passionate about education and future career options. And I am proof positive that anybody can change careers and totally do something else that they love. So I've been a program manager here at Google for about 6 years now. I have focused on K-12 work with computer science education. And with that same team, they developed digital literacy lessons and curriculum. And so I've been really excited about sharing that work with our adult learners across the US, and particularly building a relationship with COA, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a few minutes. But Ricki, let me turn it over to you so you can share who you are.
Sure, thank you. And thank you to everyone for joining today. I'm Ricki. I am on the Grow with Google team, and I'll be telling you more about some of the exciting work we're doing there. I will follow Jen's example and tell you a bit about my path as well. I started out, I see there's a few people joining from Washington, D.C. My first job was working in education policy in Washington, D.C. And I got to kind of work on the spectrum of all different education issues. And I have a particular interest in disability work. So I've done a lot of work in the special education and disability and accessibility space, which I've also been able to weave into my role here at Google. I have kind of touched on education and law from all different types of perspectives, from state government, federal government, nonprofits, and now here at Google. So I'm really happy to be joining all of you today. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, I'm really excited to have Ricki here. And believe it or not, y'all, Ricki and I have never met in person yet. We hope that will come. But we've been working together for the past 8 or 9 months. So we're really excited to have her here today. So quickly, so you can see our agenda, we're going to take a few minutes. I'm going to dive in, share a little bit about the Google initiatives that we've been working on and have available, our COA partnership in a little bit more detail. And then I'm going to hand it off to Ricki, who's really going to give you a deep dive into Google Career Certificates. We think that that's probably the most meaningful program that's really going to benefit this audience today. We'll leave some time. We actually may have a little bit more time for Q&A, and we'll close out with remarks in there, and we'll have some resources for you all at the end, as well as the slides have been shared with COA, so they'll have them to post as well. So without further ado, let me jump in. Okay, so Let's talk a little bit about the Google COA Partnership. It's actually pretty young. We just started in 2019. At that time, I mentioned we had a team, they're called Learning Lab here at Google, and they had created a video tutorial-based program for beginning coding for children, but then they started looking ahead and saying, you know, we can use this same model and really teach skills that we feel like folks need to know, and there's just not curriculum out there. So they created a program called Applied Digital Skills, and that team actually is the team that introduced COA to us. Applied Digital Skills is, again, video-based tutorial lessons that can be taught, and they're using Google's Workspace. It used to be called G Suite. It's now called Workspace. And that's basically our Google Docs, spreadsheets, slides, forms, anything of that nature where you are using technology to create work and create space for yourself and organization. We really believe that it's cross-generational and it can work for late elementary, but definitely through adult learners. And that's one reason that we think it makes a great space for multi-generational learning in families, especially we see that now in church communities, in the Hispanic communities, and Black communities as well. So that's been a big focus for us. We started out with that grant announcement with Applied Digital Skills in 2019. We did that at the national conference, but we were there mainly for that announcement. Then in 2020, we dug in a little deeper. We became a national conference sponsor. Kudos to COA because they pivoted so quickly, and we were there in the virtual conference space. And we launched that year a train the trainer model where we were reaching out to trainers to teach them how to teach educators and bring apply digital skills to individual brick and mortar locations. This past year, we've really launched something, and I've taken over the partnership in the past 9 to 10 months. So not only did we dig in and show up as a national conference sponsor in a major way, we've created this big new partnership agreement. We just signed it and inked it in the late summer, early fall. And I'm really excited about it because it's going to drive our relationship with COA members, not just at the national conference. I mean, that's really important for us, is that we don't want to show up once a year in a transactional way. We really want to be a resource for members throughout the year. And the way we're doing that is with some of our work across all of our programs. As I mentioned, our anchor program is still there, Applied Digital Skills. The link will be at the end and the final slide of resources. So you'll want to check that out there. There's so many different lessons where you can learn about project management, you can learn about resume building. If you're interested in blogs or, you know, just how to create professional email skills and things of that nature, it's a really great source there. We do some targeted audience lessons, especially for career reentry. If you have folks in audiences where you're working with formerly incarcerated individuals or those reentering the workforce, that's a great opportunity that will be there. Tina, I see your question on certificates. Hang on that till the end, and I will be sure and answer that. I just want to make sure you know that I see it. Also, so you all are aware, we have recently announced Applied Digital Skills lessons and curriculum in Spanish, which we know is a big uptick for our communities across the United States and beyond. So that's something we're really excited about. We have Grasshopper, which is a beginning coding program for high schoolers and adults, and it teaches text coding. It's free, just like Applied Digital Skills is. And what's really nice about that is because you can do it in bite-sized little lessons or little activities on your mobile phone. So I know we've all been there where we're sitting there waiting at the doctor's office or waiting for an appointment, waiting to pick up children from school, just whatever you've got there. And it's a great way to learn some quick skills, and it will gravitate you towards those bigger lessons in coding. So it's a great exploration. Once you've gotten your applied digital skills under your belt, it's a great way to introduce the beginnings of coding. Then, of course, we have Google Career Certificates. We're going to put a pin in that because Ricki will be jumping into that for us later. And then we've been focusing on targeted audience events like this one. We're really excited to bring this particular focus today to the workforce. Beyond that, we're going to be looking at a community colleges focus symposium. We did some work with that with the national conference sponsorship last year. And always, Google is underlying its message about equity and inclusion in every event that we do. We feel it's so important to reach out to those who are underrepresented and who haven't been given the resources that they needed in the past. So we want to make that so that we are democratizing not only digital skills, but computer science education for everyone. Some things I'm really excited about with this new partnership, we're actually going to be offering scholarships in Google Career Certificates. We're going to be announcing that on a new dedicated website tab that is forthcoming. It's going to be on COAB's website, but it'll be a Google tab, and COAB's going to help us distribute those scholarships. But by and large, Google is willing to help fund for at least 200 individuals, the opportunity to jump into Google Career Certificates and get certification, which can lead you to a really good quality job in a career of your choice. And then finally, we're still emphasizing professional development for trainers. We would love to be able to use this website as well to provide career webinars, content webinars and curriculum webinars. So we're going to be doing that, whether it be office hours to answer questions or bring in career panels. This dedicated tab is going to be kind of your one-stop shop for anything that's Google related. As I just mentioned, we have new languages in some of our programs. We have specified events. We have opportunities. I know that gets really busy with all of the things you do. So that's why we're really excited to be able to announce this type of dedicated tab to provide all of Google's offerings for the COAB community in one place. I'm going to share and turn it over to Ricki going forward, because now it's the time to deep dive into Google Career Certificates.
Great, thank you. So I'm here today to talk specifically about the Google Career Certificate. So I will start by giving you kind of a high-level overview of the design and why Google created this and the whole program, and then I will dig deeper into the content and tell you a bit more about what each certificate covers. So let's get started. So the whole Google Career Certificates program started from a need for back one slide. There we go. It started from a need for an interest in digital skilling, which is really more prominent now more than ever. And Jen was just talking about this as well. So 13 million Americans have low-wage jobs. We know that 1 in 3 of the workforce believe education or training will be necessary to find a comparable job if they lose theirs. 74% of people in the US say that a degree or certificate from a vocational college or trade school is more likely to result in a good job with career prospects than a university degree. And finally, 46% of workers prefer that education and training are delivered online. Next slide, please. So we've launched the Google Career Certificates, which are really focused on in-demand jobs. They're really digital-based middle skills jobs that can offer pathways to prosperity. And we're talking about pathways to a career, not just you take one certificate for one job, but really opening opportunity for an entire career pathway. So the Google Career Certificates are in several different areas, and I'll dig deeper into all of these. So we have data analytics, project management, UX design, Android developer, and also IT support. And 1.3 million in-demand jobs through rapid reskilling, like I mentioned before, don't have the need for a college degree or prior experience. So that's really kind of been at the forefront of the development of all of these certificates. Next slide, please. So why did Google create this program? So Google as a company itself was struggling to find qualified candidates for IT support roles. Through this process of looking for candidates, Google realized that qualified did not mean that a candidate had to have a 4-year college degree. So a few years ago, Google collaborated with the Year Up group to create a training and hiring pathway for individuals to fill these IT support roles. And through this collaboration, Google learned that IT is teachable in its own nature, and also that skills-based training is a really strong pathway to finding and securing jobs. Next slide, please. So the IT support was the first certificate that came to fruition really because of the details that I was just sharing. So the early impact from the IT support certificate showed that 46% of the learners came from the lowest third of income across the country. 53% were from Black, Latino, female, and or veteran groups. 59% did not have a college degree, and 82% reported a positive career outcome. Next slide, please. So in addition to content, which I'm going to give you a brief overview of that shortly, we also wanted to make sure that we're supporting learners along the way as they're learning these new skills to earn a certificate. So we include wraparound supports through each of the certificates to make sure that students have what they need to really succeed, both in the content and also when they go to apply to jobs. So these supports include a Credly badge of completion that certificate completers can share on LinkedIn, on their virtual digital resume with employers. We also connect program graduates to an exclusive job platform. You have to be over 18, but learners can have access to this job platform and they can connect directly with employers who are committed to hiring program graduates for their entry-level roles. So again, this is exclusive for participants of these programs. There is also complimentary access to Big Interview, which provides resume building, job search tips, and also mock interviews, which are really valuable, especially for someone who's learning how to navigate that job search process. We also provide free access to a personal recruiter through Career Circle. So this is another support for job search processes. And for the IT support certificate, we also have access to a 20% discount for those who complete the IT support certificate and go on to earn the CompTIA A+ certification exam. So the Google Career Certificates are certificates, they're not certifications. The difference here is that a certificate does not have an exam at the end, so we can point to a relevant exam like CompTIA here for IT support. And those who pass the CompTIA exam will earn a dual credential from CompTIA and Google. And there are a couple images on the screen. So there's an image of a person sitting at a computer, and then below that is the dual branded badge from Google and CompTIA for the IT support completion of the certificate and the exam. And then there's also a logo for Big Interview as well. Next slide, please. We also partner with top employers. So there are over 130 employers who are part of the Google Career Certificates Employer Consortium. And as I mentioned on the prior slide, these folks have agreed to different things like flagging resumes of certificate completers. And these employers include Target, Deloitte. On the screen, there are logos for these companies. I'm just going to say them aloud. Target, Deloitte, Molecular, Infosys, Snap, Walmart, Google, Bayer, SAP, Accenture, T-Mobile, Intel, Best Buy, SiriusXM, Hulu, and Verizon. Next slide, please. We're also working to expand our reach to underserved communities as well. We're providing 100,000 need-based scholarships and wraparound support from providers like Merit America, NPower, and Perscolis. We're currently in 100 community colleges, and we're also in the process of expanding to CTE, career tech high schools across the US to offer the IT support certificate. And just hot off the press, we are now offering the additional certificates to community colleges and CTE high schools as well. Graduates can earn up to 12 college credits for the different certificates. This is the equivalent of up to 4 college courses at the associate degree level based on a recommendation from the American Council on Education. So each certificate holds its own recommendation, but they've all, IT support, project management, data analytics, and UX design, they've all received credit recommendations from ACE, which is fantastic. And on the screen, we have logos of some of the participating partners, including community colleges and nonprofits like USO, YWCA, NPower, Perscolis, and Merit America. Next slide, please. Now I want to give you a little bit of background on the program design, and then I'll tell you more about each of the certificates. So let's begin with the approach. So all of these certificates are really designed to be practice-based. So they include hands-on labs and interactive assessments throughout. They also include industry relevant content, and they're product platform agnostic. So they're not pushing Google products. They're really agnostic so people can learn about all the different tools that are out there. They're impact driven in that they generate no revenue to Google. They provide job supports like I was talking about before. So things like resume and interview prep that are included in the programs. And then credit for prior learning. Completers can receive up to 12 credits from ACE, as I mentioned on the last slide. Next slide, please. So learner profile. Students must be at least 13 years of age to participate. There is no experience necessary. We recommend that they have interest in the certificate field or career pathway that they've selected. And then also access to a desktop or laptop computer with reliable internet access from wherever they'll be accessing the content. Next slide, please. Now, in terms of schools, and I know we have some schools joining us, we also have some libraries, some adult education programs. So this is kind of applicable across the board, but if you're a library or other institution, you can think about how this might apply to you as well in one form or another. So for schools in particular, we've been offering these programs to community colleges or career tech high schools. We recommend that the school have available wraparound supports to ensure student success. So to make sure that those students can really complete the program, an ability to incorporate the certificate into the curriculum at that school, existing program and curricula in each of these fields so that the certificate can build into that, and also staff that's available to facilitate the program. Next slide, please. And then for instructors, so we often receive the question of, does an instructor need to be a subject matter expert? And the answer is really no. It's more important that an instructor is really taking on that facilitator role. So being available for questions, support, progress monitoring, someone who can facilitate discussions, both in person and in a virtual environment, and also someone who can monitor student interactions within the platform as well. Next slide, please. Now, a few considerations. So as schools in particular are thinking about how to bring these certificates to life, we often think about, if you're a career tech high school, think about an articulation agreement that you might have with a local community college that can offer college credit for completing the certificate. So we have that ACE credit piece that I mentioned before, but we want to make sure that a school recognizes ACE because not all do. Again, evidence of interest in certificate fields. So to make sure there's really a match or a fit with who's taking the certificate and what the content is. Commitment from school leadership, and also existing employer relationships or partnerships as well. Next slide, please. Now let's dig into the content. So I've mentioned the different titles of the certificates here, and now I'm going to give you a preview into each of the content there. So we have IT support, which is really focused on IT specialists who troubleshoot problems so computers and networks run correctly. We have data analytics. So what is a data analyst? Who is that? Someone who collects, transforms, and organizes data to make informed business decisions. Then we have project management. Project managers ensure that projects within an organization are managed and completed with maximum value. And last but not least, we have UX design. So UX, or user experience designers, make digital and physical products easier and more enjoyable to use. Next slide, please. So I've included here just an outline of the framework for each of the certificates so you can have a sense of what they cover. So IT support covers technical support fundamentals. The second course is bits and bytes of computer networking. Then students will get into operating systems and how to become a power user. Then they'll get into system admin, IT infrastructure, and then their last course is IT security, which here is called Defense Against the Digital Dark Arts. Next slide, please. I've included here an image of what a course looks like in the platform. So there's an overview of what the course covers. By the end of this course, learners will be able to do X, Y, and Z. So we have this for each course within each certificate. There's also a section on skills acquired. So here in course 4 of the IT support certificate, skills acquired include directory service, lightweight directory access protocol, also known as LDAP, and backup. And then there's another section here with the topics that are covered, and then a content breakdown that tells you how many videos, readings, quizzes, hands-on exercises, and writing assignments there are within this course. Next slide, please. So I'm now going to run through this for the other 3 certificates as well. So data analytics covers foundations of data analytics. So data everywhere. Then the second course covers how to ask questions to make data-driven decisions. Course 3 is about preparing data for exploration. Course 4 is processing data from dirty to clean. Course 5 is analyzing data to answer questions. Course 6, sharing data through the art of visualization. Course 7, data analysis using R programming. Course 8, data analytics capstone, completing a case study. And I also want to mention that Google employees, as we call ourselves Googlers, are the ones who created each of these certificates. So in addition to being subject matter experts of this content, there are also vignettes within each of the certificates that talk about someone's own experience in their life and how they got to where they are now, their job, their background, includes people from all different backgrounds and experiences. So people going through the programs can really try to identify with the different people they're seeing on the screen as well. Next slide, please. So I included an image here of course 4 from the data analytics certificate, very similar to the one I had from IT support, overview of the program, expected outcomes, skills acquired, topics, and again, content breakdown of videos, recordings, quizzes, hands-on exercises, writing assignments, and discussion prompts. Next slide, please. For UX design, again, I'm going to run through the courses so you can have a sense of what this covers. So there's foundations of UX design, starting the UX design process, empathize, define, and ideate. Course 3 is building wireframes and low fidelity prototypes. Course 4 is conducting UX research and testing early concepts. Course 5 is creating high fidelity designs and prototypes in Figma. Course 6 is web design in Adobe XD. And course 7 is data analysis with R programming. Next slide, please. I included again course 4 just for consistency here so you can see what's covered in each of the different certificates. Again, same layout as I mentioned before. So an overview, the skills acquired, topics, and content breakdown. Next slide. All right. So last but not least, we have project management. So this covers foundations of project management, project initiation. So starting a successful project planning, putting it all together. Course 4 is project execution. So running the project. So this is really taking you through all the different steps of managing a project. Course 5 is agile project management, and course 6 is applying project management in the real world. And once again, I included a screenshot of course 4 and what that actually looks like in the platform as well. So I just went through a ton of information. I hope that this has generated some questions. To learn more or sign up, you can visit grow.google/certificates-edu. And now I'm happy to open it up for questions, whether you have them for me on the certificates, for Jen, for the broader Google context, or anything else that might have come up. And we will also take a look through the chat as well.
Yeah, so I know one of the first ones, and I'm going to work backwards. Ricki, one of the first questions. Oh, yes, I will go back so we can see that link again. Hang on one second. Let's go back. There you go. So, and Tina, we'll have another slide at the very end that will have it in there. Yep. Ricki's put that link in the chat as well. So first question is, can students use Chromebooks for Google Career Certificates, or do they need a laptop desktop?
That is a great question. I think Chromebook falls into the category of laptop. That's the first time I've ever received that question. So I think you'd be fine with a Chromebook. I
yeah.
So.
I think because there's not a lot of coding per se, you wouldn't need a robust laptop. You should be able to do the coursework there, but you know what? That is a great question, Gigi, and I will make sure that we get an answer for you and give an update. We'll put that in the slides or make sure we get that to you all. But to my knowledge, Chromebooks are fine at this point. Okay, there was another question. I'm checking on the Applied Digital Skills Certification. Yes, I think that was Tina. we did deprecate the first round. If you're a student and you're using it in the classroom, we can get certificate, like you can do a certificate, but it's not a certification like we've had in the past. However, a lot of our certification for those skill sets and applied digital skills are now embedded with Google Career Certificates. They're just more specified. I think project management would be something that I would consider to kind of be the most broad for a certification using applied digital skills. But Ricki, I wanted to know if you have any thoughts on that.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. I feel like that's always a really good starting point as well.
Yeah, it's fairly broad. Actually, I'm considered a project manager or a program manager. I don't use Agile. There are others, different applications you can use. In fact, at Google, when I started as a program manager, they're like, use whatever tools feel right for you. So there are a lot of different ways to do that and a lot of customization there. Ricki, to Susan Wall's question, is there a cost for these courses? The answer is yes, there is, but it is quite small. And we actually, Google does not benefit from that. That is really the partner Coursera, where all these courses are actually supported with the platform online. It's through Coursera. But Ricki, if you want to talk about the cost
Sure,
and how you all estimate that.
I can clarify that a bit. So the certificates are currently available at no cost to community colleges and career tech high schools. I see there's a question here about working at in adult programs. If they're affiliated with community colleges or career tech high schools, you should be able to, most likely, it has to go through a verification process, but if there is an affiliation there, you'll likely be able to fit under that umbrella as well. If there are other groups that don't fit under the community college or CTE high school umbrella, you might be able to look into the scholarship option that Jen was mentioning. But in terms of, like Jen said before, and I included as well, Google is not generating any revenue from this. So we're trying to get the certificates out there to as many people as we can at no cost. And another thing to think about, I haven't seen it pop up in the chat, but workforce boards are sometimes offering certificates as well. So that's another place to look.
But specifically, Susan, what we have estimated is that, well, the cost is $39 per month. And we assume that it takes about 6 months to get a certificate if you're working a full-time job or you're a full-time parent, whatever those things are, and you have about 10 hours a week to dedicate to learning. So on average, 10 hours a week for 6 months. So it's $39 a month with that. However, $39 a month, if you have more time, maybe you're unemployed at the moment and you really want to power through, you find you're excelling, you can actually get to that certification quicker than that. So just keep that in mind. It's $39 a month. For the scholarships that we are going to be sponsoring, we're essentially earmarking $240 per student, up to 200 students, to be able to do that. We're going to be, again, be on the lookout from COA. We will be announcing the scholarship format soon. We're just in the process of figuring out that framework now so we can get folks in. And, we're trying to find the right cadence to make sure that we're spending that money wisely, that those who are going to get awarded that money will actually use it and get that certification. We just don't want to waste those funds. And we know things happen and things pop up. So we're just trying to, keep in mind of that. But there are going to be some opportunities there. I did not know about the kind of waived fees for community colleges, ZTE high school. So that is super awesome. There are also grants. I know there's so many things that COA is bringing to you all. And with this administration that is working right now, there might be more grants you all could actually apply for and use the Google Certs program as the program you would like to bring to your students. So there's a great brainstorming way to maybe get that funding for students who can't afford it otherwise. There was an interesting question I found, if we had any type of customer service certification. And while, it's really looking for people skills and the type of upskilling that you need for folks who are looking for careers in the hospitality, medical, IT type career paths. And, to that point, I think that's where we could provide some really strong career panels. We could bring in maybe some sales folks from Google to talk about the skills that have been really important for them when they're going out into the community or with their customers and clients, and what that really looks like for them. Obviously, when you're working through any of the career search work, and again, I go back to program management or project management, you are working with external stakeholders, and you're working with those communication skills that are so vital for all of those customer service type jobs, to be able to show up, to be able to have confidence, to be able to, have such a positive energy and something that's really kind of uplifting. That's obviously the first relationship builder there. Ricki, can you speak a little bit? I know that there is some mentoring that can happen with Google Search, if I'm not mistaken, but can you speak a little bit more what that is like?
Yeah, so there's no formal mentor type program or aspect. There is an instructor forum that's available. So if you offer a program, you have access to other instructors. You can, if you're running into some kind of technical issue or question or looking for pedagogical tips, that's something that's available. And I and my team are part of that as well.
Well, maybe I'm confusing it and correctly. So say a student goes through the certification process, they get certified. Now they're working with they're working to prepare for interviews. What type of preparation happens then between earning the certification and actually going for an interview?
So that's where someone can make use of the big interview piece of the wraparound supports that are available. So you can work with you can go through mock interviews there, and there are also recruiters available that I mentioned through Career Circle. So that's another resource that people can make use of to really kind of hone their story, their tips, and get ready for those job applications and interviews. Hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, and Chris, to your point, thank you. We like to think that having Google certification on a resume makes a difference as well. We're really trying to champion that, and it's given me some notes and things to think about. So it's definitely content that we could consider putting together. It makes it a little harder when we're offering digital resources and curriculum that are teaching people skills. That kind of seems the irony there, but it's definitely something that we can explore on that note. But I do think there are pieces. I mean, you mentioned IT. I think getting the certification in IT or getting certification in project management is such a plus, because it's going to bring so many skill sets that will work. Particularly, I go back to project management. Project management works across so many different industries. And to be honest, I find that being an administrative assistant or being an executive assistant is being a project manager. Anything that goes higher, I mean, I've heard VPs tell me that they're just the project manager for the president that they report to. So at any level, once you start really getting into project management and what that means, you set up a strategy, you hold a kickoff meeting, you figure out who your stakeholders are, you're meeting deadlines, you're trying to deliver a product or a particular goal and mission, and then you're reporting, keeping everybody in line, dealing with any challenges or roadblocks that come up along the way, keeping folks informed, and then you're marketing that project out and executing it, and then evaluating, hey, how did we do, and how is this doing in the marketplace, or something like that. So end to end, that's a great kind of composite of work in a lot of different industries. Any more questions? We've got about 15 minutes left. So I'm very curious if anyone has any other questions they would like to answer. I'm going to actually scoot through a little bit so you can see, and I have the just certificates. We'll add -edu in our slides here, but I do have my email address there as well. Since I'm the COA partner manager, I wanted you all to have access to being able to contact me with any type of question you might have. And we'll try to, even if it's a request like, hey, I would love to hear, a career panel on X. It's something that we can start curating and hopefully be delivering to you all in the next few months via the Google dedicated website tab. Any final questions? I know a lot of the UX design, because I felt that way when Ricki's going through it, it sounds very technical. I don't even know what Figma is, for example. So if those things feel technical to you, please don't feel intimidated by that. We're all in this boat together, but there's so many great opportunities to learn. So just give it a shot. You know, if you've got folks who are more creative or really, you know, analytical and able to think, hey, you know, I'm seeing this trend, you know, you're going to know whether that person is better suited for UX design or might be great in data analysis, and giving it a test out there. We'll try to find some folks maybe in the next few months that meet those different career paths, so we could come in and let COA members, you know, even if you can't attend live, watch a webinar where we have a discussion with someone who is in that exact career path. Thank you so much, Cedric. Appreciate it. Any final questions? I know you all have had a very long day. We do want to talk about too, you know, I've mentioned a couple of things. We're sending out a lot of information. Veterans Day is coming up, so we're focusing on some content. In fact, Grow with Google just announced this morning some certification and targeted resources for veterans. So we'll share that out. You'll see that on the dedicated website, but if you want to know more information about that, please email me. Same with any Spanish content that you're looking for your adult learner audiences. And then finally, as I mentioned before, anything with career reentry, community colleges, those types of things. If you have any questions around those specific audiences, please reach out to us and let us know. Okay, well, thank you so much. With that, thank you. Yes, we are very excited as well. And please come to the national conference next spring. We're going to be there in person. We're super excited about that. We would love to chat with folks and hear how everyone's doing. Like, what things have you been able to try that Google has offered, and then what's not working for you? I mean, all of those things are super helpful to us and how we're going to continue to support adult learners across the nation. So we're really excited and happy to help in any way. Thank you, everyone. Ricki, thanks so much for joining. Ricki's a working mom, so she's off to pick up her child for the day. Thanks, Ricki. We'll go ahead and let you drop off.
Thank you so much for having us.
And thank you all again. Good luck with the rest of the event, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, Jennifer. Take care, everyone.